Welcome back, health students, for the final installment of distance learning Larson style during the time of COVID-19, 2020. This will be the last video that I do. Kind of a short chapter, but 3 lessons available here. 2 that are required. 1 will be some extra credit if somebody feels like they want to do a little bit more to try and get a few more points. We'll add that in. But we're going to talk through chapter 25. Just give you a brief overview here. This is the section where we talk about non-communicable diseases and disorders. Remember back when we were a couple chapters ago here when we were talking through chapter 23, communicable disease is when things are passed from one living organism to another living organism. Non-communicable means these are diseases that people acquire that isn't infectious from one organism to another. Typically a disease that in most cases either something they were born with or something that they developed over time due to lifestyle choices. So we'll talk through this a little bit, but chapter 25 focuses on various non-communicable diseases like cardiovascular disease, which in some cases can be hereditary, but in other cases can be something that somebody acquires over time because of a poor lifestyle choice. And then we'll talk a little bit through cancer. Cancer will be the second thing that we talk about. Also something that can be hereditary, but again also something that can be developed over time because of poor lifestyle. And then again with diabetes, and that'll be an optional extra credit assignment if you want to get into that on the 3rd lesson. Like I said, that'll be an extra credit day, but diabetes, something again, type 1 diabetics typically, that's something that they develop through no fault of their own, either genetically or it's an autoimmune response. The body attacks the pancreas and they're not able to secrete insulin into the body for whatever reason. So type 1 diabetes is something that somebody gets through, like I said, no fault of their own. Type 2 diabetes, typically, that can also be genetic as well, but typically type 2 diabetes people try to avoid by living a healthy lifestyle, by eating well, by exercising, okay? And then it says there's physical and mental disorders are also discussed. That's a lesson that we're not going to actually get to because we're not on time. But just a few things, a few bullet points here that we'll focus on. Preventative behaviors that can reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke. So we'll talk about how to prevent cardiovascular disease, and even some of those same preventative strategies can help with the prevention of cancer or prevention of type 2 diabetes. Cancer takes many forms and can affect people of all ages, so that's when we talk a little bit more about cancer. And self-management strategies that can help reduce severity of allergies, asthma, diabetes, and arthritis. And actually in that 3rd lesson that you see there, all 4 of those things are discussed in there. So diabetes is part of it. But they'll also talk about different allergies. We'll talk about asthma, and we'll talk about arthritis. So again, lesson 1, teens can take preventative measures to reduce the risks of disease that affect the heart and the blood vessels. So those things are discussed in lesson 1. Lesson 2, cancer takes different forms. It can develop in almost any part of the body. So we'll talk about development of cancer, but we'll get into a little bit of preventative measures to try and prevent, such as staying away from tobacco products, but trying to eat well and to exercise. And then again with the optional lesson that's there, non-communicable diseases such as allergies, asthma, diabetes, and arthritis can be managed with medications and behavior. So those things will be there. There'll be 1 video, and you're watching it right now, and 2 mandatory assignments that are there, chapter 25.1 quiz and chapter 25.2 notes worksheet. There will be something in there for chapter 25.3, but I didn't put it on this list because it's not mandatory. But if you decide to do that lesson, it'll be in that particular folder. This wasn't the greatest version of learning health at the high school setting. We did the best that we could. I know that we talked a lot about, before you went off, we talked about doing some of the Zoom meetings. There was a reason why I chose not to do those, not because I didn't want to see you guys face to face. Probably a better explanation to you in person when you see me next year. I didn't feel comfortable doing that, and I've got a reason for that. But hopefully you got something out of these video messages that I send to you guys. Hopefully you learned something. I know that many of you did, but I really appreciate your patience throughout this time of distance learning. I honestly really look forward to getting back into a school setting next year. This, like I said, this wasn't my favorite way to teach. I would rather have been face-to-face with you, telling jokes, and laughing and giggling, and having the music pumping in the background like we always do in the classroom. But it is what it is. We missed having you here the last couple of months of school, and I hope that your summer is phenomenal and that we get rocking right into the fall, and hopefully we're back to normal. Take care.